Hello, welcome once again to another listening party on Stuff and Things. We're trying this again. It sort of worked with Blondie and Parallel Lines. At least the video didn't get completely blocked. Couldn't be monetized or anything like that, but that's fine. I just wanted you guys to be able to see it. And I think depending on where you lived in the world, you could watch that video. I'd love to get some more views on this to show me that you want me to keep going with this series. But I thought we'd try this again, and I thought I would pick an album that, in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of other people, a lot of other music critics, is one of the most important and seminal albums of the early 2000s. It's one of my favorite albums of all time, one of the very best debut albums of all time. It's a big one, gang, and it is this. Is This It by The Strokes. Now, this is the UK album cover, which we did not have in the US, but this is a reissue of the first album with the UK art. Kind of a Spinal Tap, Smell the Glove kind of album cover there. They ended up doing a different album cover for the US, which I will put on the screen at some point here. But I think this is a fun homage to that Spinal Tap album cover. I don't know if they even initially wanted that. I think it was kind of an accident. The photographer for this album, his girlfriend was coming out of the shower at one point naked, and he said, "Wow, you look good. Put these gloves on." And then he took this picture. And then eventually they ended up finding a picture of, like, I think it's like subatomic particles or something through an electron microscope is the actual album cover that came out in the US. Anyway, a little bit of background on the Strokes. We're not going to get too crazy here, but they were formed in New York City in 1998 with lead singer and primary songwriter Julian Casablancas, guitarist Nick Valenci, and eventually Albert Hammond Jr. joined, bassist Nicolai Fratier, and then drummer Fabrizio Moretti. They are a seminal and extremely influential band. They helped usher in sort of the whole post-punk garage rock revival, guitar-driven rock revival of the early 2000s. And they inspired bands anywhere from the Libertines in the UK to, the Killers, the Kings of Leon, just all sorts of bands from the early 2000s that were guitar-driven, sort of post-punk. A huge, huge influence on all those bands. So they were formed by, I guess, what you would call kind of trust fund rich kids who lived in Manhattan. Julian Casablancas, the lead singer and main songwriter, Nick Valenci, as I mentioned, Fabrizio Moretti, they all played together as teenagers while attending Dwight School in Manhattan, which I'm assuming is sort of a swank prep school. And then Nicolai Fratier, the bassist, joined soon after. He was a childhood friend of Casablancas. And then towards the end of 1998, they asked Albert Hammond Jr. to join as a second guitarist. He and Casablancas met when they were in boarding school in Switzerland. So yes, they were very rich, very privileged people, but they were also very dedicated to the band and to the music. They practiced almost daily for the next couple of years and played tons of shows in New York, really honing their sound and zeroing in on what they wanted to sound like as a band. They eventually met producer Gordon Raphael and recorded several songs that eventually became the Modern Age EP that was released on Rough Trade Records in the UK. They shopped this around and it started gaining so much enthusiasm and hype that a giant bidding war developed amongst major labels to sign them. They eventually signed with RCA and they decided they needed to start working on their first album. So they hooked up with producer Gil Norton, who had produced the Pixies. They got along well and they recorded 3 songs, but the band just weren't happy with the sound. They said it was, quote, too clean and too pretentious. So they ended up scrapping those 3 songs, ended up re-recording them for Is This It? But they got back together with Gordon Raphael at the Transportarium in Manhattan's East Village in New York City. It was one of the early studios that had an early Pro Tools audio workstation. Casablancas said he wanted Is This It to sound like a band from the past that took a time trip into the future to make their record. And in service of that, they went for a raw, live, minimalistic, and gritty sound. They didn't do 1,000 takes. They tried to record a lot of stuff live as a band and then just did overdubs for vocals and things like that. They used simple mic setups for the drum kit. They just had one mic on the bass drum, one overhead mic, and then a room mic. And then all the guitars and the bass were bleeding into those drum mics as well. So it was kind of a really raw live sound. They put most of Julian Casablanca's vocals through a PV practice amp. So he would record directly into that amp, and then they would mic that amp, which gives that really almost as though he's singing through a phone booth or something kind of sound, or through a walkie-talkie. All the songs on the album were mixed using 11 or fewer audio tracks, which is kind of crazy. I've done some home recording, and 11 tracks is very small for a full band to be using. According to Valenci, the album contains no gimmicks, no tricks. There are a ton of cool anecdotes about the recording of Is This It, and it's worth reading about if you're into kind of that nerdy audio stuff. So the album was released in 2001. Originally, there was a track called New York City Cops, but after the whole September 11th thing, they decided to take that album off and replaced it with, I believe, Where It Started. Yeah, I think New York City Cops was originally track number 9 on the album, but they released it with Where It Started. So we're going to do the American version of this album, and we're going to be doing Where It Started, or When It Started, not New York City Cops. So the album was released to huge fanfare, high critical praise. They were hailed as kind of the saviors of rock and roll. And though they never ended up achieving the kind of mainstream success that people were predicting for them, they ended up being extremely influential. And you can see kind of the reverberations of this album still rippling through popular, or not even popular, more like indie guitar-driven rock. My personal history with this album, I was living in LA when it came out. And I think I first read about them in an issue of NME, I believe, a UK magazine. And I think the album hadn't even been out in the US yet, but I was reading about them. Everything they were saying just made me think, this is a band that I'm going to enjoy. And so when it did come out, I got the album right away, and I was completely blown away. It was as though, I don't know, aliens came down to the earth and purposefully made a band and a record that would appeal to me specifically. It's all the stuff that I love, because at the time, I wasn't listening to a lot of new music. I was listening to 60s British stuff, a lot of post-punk and punk stuff, indie stuff from, the 80s, just a lot of kind of what we consider alternative music now. And this was just this amazing crystallization of all those influences, all the things I love, the 70s New York scene, Velvet Underground, just all sorts of crazy things that were not super popular in mainstream music. They were just synthesized in this band. And I was absolutely blown away by this album. Loved it completely. And I have loved the Strokes ever since. I was able to see them once in concert, which was really cool. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's jump into this. I've been blathering long enough. It is the Strokes, Is This It? And we will start with the title track, Is This It? And this is probably the most mellow song on the album, but it does sort of lay out the groundwork for what you can expect in the rest of the album. Pay attention to, the dueling guitar lines, 2 guitarists playing a lot of single note lines, melodic bass. The drums are pretty simple and metronomic, and then the vocals that are very compressed and a little bit distorted. This is kind of the formula for the album. This is This It? By The Strokes from their album, Is This It? Only 2.5 minutes long. Most of these songs are very short as well. Try not to sing too much, but I can't make any promises.
I'm just way too tired. Is this it? Is this it? Is this it?
Listen to the bass drop.
Said they'd give you anything you ever wanted. When they lied, I knew it was just stable children trying hard not to realize I was sitting right behind. Oh dear, can't you see? It's them, it's not me. We're not enemies, we're
Let me pause for a second here. Again, I'm sorry if I start singing because I just can't help it. I love this album that much. But I like this song is pretty mellow, pretty kind of just this nice little rollicking beat. Well, not even rollicking. It's just, even though this doesn't have the high energy kind of really poppy hooks and riffs that a lot of Strokes songs have, to me, this does just do an amazing job of laying out sort of the mission statement of this album. And even though maybe you would have thought they would have put a more high energy track to be the very first track, I think this really works. Lyrically, I've never really paid that much attention to what this song is saying. I think a lot of the lyrics on this album are just kind of like, we're in our 20s and we live in New York and we're disaffected. You know, it's that kind of sound. But, you know, there are some interesting lyrics later on in the album and everything. But for me, this is all just about the mood and the feel. I think it does a good job. And there you go. So very simple. Again, not super high energy or anything, but I do think it works as the first song on this album. And you can pay more attention in subsequent songs, that dueling guitar thing where it's Nick Valenci and Albert Hammond Jr. They're usually playing single note lines, and it's very call and response, like like not exactly that, but you'll hear it. They usually have them panned pretty widely in the audio as well, or in the stereo mix, and that's just such an important part of the Strokes sound. And you're getting a little bit of that in this first album, but you'll get a little bit more in the second song, or the first song. You'll get a little bit more in the second song, The Modern Age. So can you hear what's going on there? So you've got one guitarist playing the, and then underneath that, it almost kind of coincides with the bass line. So you might not be able to hear it though, but you're getting that. Everything is so on time. And I think that's why the click track is kind of important to this, because it's not about groove or flow in these songs. It's about that metronomic, just we're right on time. We're with the bass, we're with the drums. And those two guitar lines, it could sound so sloppy and so messed up unless they were just perfectly in time with each other. So really pay attention. Try to hear underneath the levels. I mean, there aren't a ton of levels. These are very simple structures as far as the instruments being layered in the track. Try to hear those two different guitar lines and see how they interplay with the bass and the drums and everything. It's fantastic.
Stop to pretend, stop pretending. It seems this game is simply never ending. All in the sunshine, having fun in my blood. I just
two guitar lines.
Trying to catch her eye.
What hard to say it's easy. Do you just confuse me?
Tomorrow will be different, so I pretend to believe it.
The first Strokes guitar solo. They've got some chops. So, again, very sparse, very sparsely constructed. You just have two guitars. There aren't a bunch of different overdubs. There are two guitars. They're basically they're recording this album as though they're playing live. So for the most part, there are going to be a couple exceptions. You're not going to hear anything that you wouldn't be able to hear live. And that's one of the most amazing things about the Strokes, because when I have seen them live, they sound just like the album because they're not doing all these other crazy overdubs or anything. Yeah, a little bit more of a driving sound on the second song. The chorus is it's almost like they're kind of building up to this ratcheting up of choruses and catchiness, because I consider Julian Casablancas one of the best writers of catchy choruses out there. And we're going to get to some of the most catchy choruses you could possibly imagine. But this is sort of building to that. Again, the lyrics, I don't really care all that much. It just sounds like, to me, sort of a comment on, the modern world, modern life, disaffected youth, all that good stuff. The next song, Soma, is obviously going to be based on Aldous Huxley's A Brave New World. I almost said 1984. I always conflate those books. So Soma was the drug that the populace was hooked on in A Brave New World. So this is sort of touching on that, using that as a touchstone, but then also just talking about drugs in general. It's a song you would write when you're 22. Soma. Now this has some catchy guitar lines. So again, not to bother you, but do you hear that? The two different guitar lines, they almost sound as though it's just one person playing both. But if you really listen closely, you can hear that it's two different parts making this up. The drums are so compressed. I love how compressed the drums are and how simply they are recorded. You don't get this really like full, rich drum sound. It sounds so compressed that it could almost be a drum machine, and they're so tight that it could be a drum machine, but they're not. It's actually just live playing. I don't know. It's just, it works so well for me. It's just so unadorned, which I really like. And I can appreciate really kind of, ornate rock music, stuff like Led Zeppelin and stuff from the past. But this just, I don't know. There's just something about it. Fantastic. I don't think Julian Casablancas gets enough credit as a vocalist. This album, maybe it's a little more one note, but he does have this amazing vocal range that you'll hear in subsequent albums. And he is especially great at the rock scream, the scream vocal that not everyone can do. And he is amazing at it. I think there should be more recognition paid, and maybe people have talked about this in the past, but I'm definitely hearing a very Joy Division-y kind of sound as well. And I don't think, obviously people talk about them being kind of a post-punk revival band, and Joy Division was post-punk, but I don't hear people comparing them to Joy Division as much. But with that really angular, sparse guitar sound, it really reminds me of Joy Division. Okay, next. Track number 4 is Barely Legal, which, as the name would suggest, is probably, well, it's definitely talking about the protagonist of the song, the narrator, dating someone who recently turned 18. Maybe creepy, but if you think about it, if you're putting yourself in the shoes of the narrator, he was probably 21 or 22 when he recorded this. So whatever. It's interesting. It has an interesting... This one, I think, is really starting to ratchet up the melody. And then we're going to get to the song number 5, which is my favorite off the album, which is just the apotheosis of a catchy rock song. So Barely Legal this is all ramping up to what I think is the peak of 1, 2, 3. Well, God. All of these songs are amazing, but the very middle of the album is just this great peak. And then you start kind of coming down. I don't know. Amazing denouement. But here we go. Barely Legal. Okay, so again. That's one guitar. The other one. The other like rhythm guitar is just so locked in with the bass that it's almost hard to distinguish. But pay attention. Listen close.
I didn't take no shortcuts. I spent the money that I saved up. Oh, mama running out of love. 'Cause like my sister don't give a fuck. I wanna steal your innocence. Show me my life that don't make sense. A strange man that I love so. Why won't you wear your new trench coat?
drum beat works so well. It's just doom, 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 doom is the bass drum, and then you get the with the snare, and then you've got the hi-hat going, but that's basically it. Like, I don't even know if I'm hearing toms very often in this. And again, we just have that the rhythm guitar that's just ding, 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 ding. It's like playing double time, and then it's just like engineered for me to enjoy this. Listen to this. This is amazing. How good is that? Love the harmonics on the guitar. The hi-hat on this is so compressed and so what people might consider dead. Like, there's just no dynamic range going on there at all. But it's just, I love it. I love it so much. And that is that kind of, I'm not going to say I don't like drum machine, because I do like drum machine on some songs. And this isn't a drum machine. But I typically like a live drum sound. But I love just how compressed the drums are. It just, everything works. It was just lightning in a bottle, I think, with this first album, especially, where I've rarely heard a debut album where the sound was so perfectly encapsulated, so perfectly expressed, and the vision was so complete right from the very beginning. Like, this is exactly what they were at that time, and it was perfectly captured. The chorus in this song is amazing. Oh, such a perfect ramp up to the next song, which is my favorite song off the album. I think it is just a perfect rock / pop / post-punk song. So catchy, so hum-alongable, so sing-alongable. The guitar hooks are amazing. It's just absolute perfection. It is Someday off of Is This It by The Strokes.
In
Okay. I have to interrupt every once in a while to talk about this. I'm sorry, but I don't know if I can express to you why I love this so much, but it is that beat, and then that kind of that jangly rhythm guitar in the background, the ding 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 ding. It almost has kind of a, well, Alone Together, especially the next song, has a real reggae inspired beat. This is more just kind of like a jangly pop, not beat, but rhythm guitar part. It has just sort of a jangly pop rhythm guitar part. And when listening to this part right now that I've just paused in there, you get that ding 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 in the background, and then that ascending, actually descending guitar line. It intermeshes so perfectly, these little cogs in a watch or something, and taken in individually, these parts are so basic and so sparse, but they put together and they form together so perfectly. I love the song. To me, this is the quintessential Strokes song from this era, from their probably first and second album. This is the Strokes, Someday.
I see it always stand together, we fall apart. Yeah, I think I'll be alright. I'm working so I won't have to try so hard. Tables they turn sometimes. Oh, someday. No, I ain't wasting no more time.
Nice little breakdown here. Now you get to hear it all layered together. Let's add another guitar part.
Now my fears, they come to me in threes. So sometimes it paid my friend. You say the strangest things I find. Sometimes all my assets are lacking in them. Say I will try my best. You say you wanna stay by my side. Darling, your head's not right. I see alone we stand together, we fall apart. Yeah, I think I'll be alright. I'm working so I won't have to try so hard. Tables they turn sometimes. Oh, someday. I ain't wasting no more time.
Oh, my God. I love that song so much. It's so perfect. And I told you I got to see them, well, not that recently now. It was in 2020, actually, right before COVID hit. And because especially the songs off the first and even into the second album were so sparsely recorded, basically just recording them as though they were playing live or not putting a bunch of overdubs on they couldn't do live. When they play songs from this album, it sounds perfect. So let me insert a tiny clip from the 2020 concert I saw when they were performing for, I always forget the name of that album. It's their most recent album, The New Normal, I think. And they played Someday, and it was perfect. Okay, so I've been talking about how the album ramps up to this peak. I think for me, Someday is the peak, but there's almost maybe a plateau of just these perfect pop songs, rock songs, post-punk songs, whatever you want to call it. Next, we have Alone Together. Bam. Such perfect interplay between the two guitar parts. To me, this is the most kind of post-punk, you know, Manchester in the late 70s, early 80s sound. Baseline. So lyrically, it sounds like it's just, hey, I'm having issues with my girlfriend kind of thing. You know, basically it's alone together. It's trying to relate to his girl. And it's, to me, I enjoy a lot of the lyrics off this album. I think they work really well as sort of the vehicle for the catchiness, for the melody. I'm not reading a ton into, you know, the depth of the lyrical content. It gets better. These aren't bad lyrics at all, but it gets better as the Strokes progress as a band. This is kind of, I don't even want to say stereotypical, but it is kind of just what you would expect someone in their early 20s hanging out in Manhattan, going out, dating, maybe dabbling with drugs, you know, nightlife. It's that kind of thing. Angsty, disaffected. This song is ratcheting up to something very cool. Metronome. It's not a metronome. It's not a drum machine. It's a live human, super compressed. This little breakdown at the end. Fantastic post-punk perfection. I love how most of their songs don't fade out. They just stop. The song is over. All right. Next song, Last Night. Probably for most people, the most famous or most popular song off the album. I think it's fantastic as well. I think Someday just slightly gets the edge for me. But Last Night is definitely one of their most iconic, most popular songs, with good reason. It is so catchy. It is so melodic. It is, again, just quintessentially everything that the Strokes were and are. Last Night. Iconic intro. Let's add the bass in.
Last night she said, "Oh, baby, I feel so down. Oh, it turned me off when I feel left out. So I turn around. Oh, baby, I don't care no more. I know this for sure. I'm walking out that door. But I've been in town for just now 50 minutes now. Oh, baby, I feel so down. And I don't.
I love the bass line that's like do 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 do. It almost has kind of a Motown sort of bass line. And again, these dueling guitars are fantastic. What can you say about Last Night? It's just fantastic.
I keep walking for miles. The city people, they don't understand. No girlfriends, they can't understand. Your grandsons, they won't understand. On top of this, I ain't ever gonna understand. Last night, she said.
And that has kind of the almost reggae feel to the guitar, the rhythm.
It turned me off when I feel left out. So I turned round. Oh, baby, gonna be alright. It was a great big lie. 'Cause I left that night. Yeah.
You get another guitar solo here. Rare on the Strokes' first album. Doesn't overstay its welcome. Just does what it needs to do.
No girlfriends, they don't understand. In spaceships, they won't understand. And me, I ain't ever gonna understand. Last night, she said,
Love that pause there.
I feel so down. She turned me off when I feel left out. So I turn around. Oh, little girl, I don't care no more. I know this for sure. I'm walking out that door. Yeah.
So, there you go. Okay, so so much of what makes that song amazing might almost sound like a cliche now, because you've got those very angular trebly guitars, bang, 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 kind of clashing against each other or clanging against each other, and so it's very I don't know, staccato. And then in the background, though, you've got that bass that's do 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 do. So that has more of this like flow and rolling aspect to it with the angular bang 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 guitars. And that it's such a cliche now. You've heard that 1,000 times. But when this album came out, obviously they were pulling from sort of that post-punk sound, but it just hadn't been heard in popular music in such a long time. And it was just this perfect crystallization. Just fantastic. So next is Hard to Explain. I think this is the longest song off the album at 3 minutes and 44 seconds. Here we go. Hard to Explain. Now the drums sound very much like a drum machine, but again, this is just live and they just compress the hell out of them. To just like metronomic time. Boom, 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 boom. Love the bass.
Tried to take control. Oh, I don't see
So listen to this again. I keep pointing this out, but if you hear the bass, it's mostly just playing these single notes, except when it's not. But for the most part, it is. And then the rhythm guitar that's matching that is it's right on time with the bass. You've got that other guitar line that sounds like a Proco Rat distortion on that, just like just really crackly in the background, and just taken all together. It's so on time, it so matches, but then occasionally the bass will go off of that dun 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 dun, and it sort of leads in this more rounded sort of bass line. It's just, it has to be so perfectly on time. And I don't think they were quantizing things back then. I think it was just that they were playing to a click track. It just, it sounds so simple and sparse, but if you don't do it perfectly, it would sound horrible. But it only sounds good because it is just so perfectly in time. Now that chorus, that just sounds so sing-song and simple and like, whatever. But it just works so perfectly. There's this amazing build up to that chorus. It is such a nice, this tension and release. And then I love that pause that they do. And then when it drops again, it's just, it's perfect. Okay, I just had to pause when it started. So, fantastic song. So this is where I think the album's starting to come down a little bit. There's that peak with Someday, Alone Together, Last Night. I think Hard to Explain is part of that as well. Starts to come down, but it's still amazing. This is when it started. This is the song that replaced New York City Cops on the American version of the album. Here we go. Great song in its own right. bass line. Take away any part of this and it wouldn't sound right. Take away any one of the guitars, take away the bass, take away anything. There's no underlying rhythm that you could count on. It has to have all these different parts. Bass line here. Listen closely to that bass line. Great bass line. Come on, tell me. Another fantastic song. I think that really is just another perfect example of how I was trying to say when you probably couldn't hear me during the song. If you take any of those parts away, you don't have the song anymore. If you think of a lot of things, a lot of just rock songs, there will be this rhythm guitar in the background that carries the melody. And if you took away the overdubs with the lead guitar and the bass and a lot of other things, and you just had that rhythm guitar, you would still have the song. You could hear the song, the structure of the song. This, if you took away any part of that, you would not have the song anymore. That bass line that is it's so rangy. It's like, it's all over the place. Taken by itself, you're like, what is this? I don't hear what's going on. There's no song here. But then when you add in those other two guitar parts, taken together, it's sort of like forming chords with individual notes played by each different instrument. Yeah, it's so cool. Next, we have track number 10, Trying Your Luck. This has kind of like a bossa nova sort of feel to it, which is interesting. Oh my God. Sorry, I just got this crazy memory wave. When I was a kid, my dad bought us this like weird Casio keyboard, and there were all these pre-programmed like beats and little instrumental things that you could play on it. And I swear this was like the bossa nova from there. That's exactly what that sounded like on the Casio keyboard, but this is all played live with instruments. That's really weird. Anyway. Great pre-chorus here. Yeah, this is totally bossa nova. I don't know if I've ever really realized that before. Dude, you can dance to this. I guess that's not really a pre-chorus because it didn't lead into the chorus, but verse B or part B, I don't know. Here we go. I love that. So going to that chorus, we have this like rollicking, dancey sort of bossa nova kind of feel. But then in the chorus, it gets very angular and just, 4/4 again. And I just love that juxtaposition. It works so perfectly to set the chorus off or the pre-chorus or anything in that section. But then now we get back into this kind of bossa nova.
What is for sale? He's trying not to give his job a chance. It's never gonna be. It's sad, but I agree. The signal don't seem right. It lasts for just one night. And
listen to when it transitions.
I'm sorry that I said that we were just good friends. No,
Not yet.
he's setting up all your alarms and traps. I can't be there in time. I'll think about that.
I guess it does it happen again? We get the chorus or the guitar solo here. Oh yeah, here we go.
And I lost my page again. I know this is so rare, but I'll try my luck with you. This life is on my side. I am your one. Believe me, this is a chance.
So, penultimate song, great song. I love the plaintive quality to the vocals and the lyrics there. And I just love that juxtaposition. I don't know if bossa nova is even the right thing. I think that is. But that sort of, that beat, that instrumentation at the beginning, ding, 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 and then, I don't know, it has this like lilt and flow to it. But then when it just really gets staccato and kind of just right on the beat in the chorus, it just works. Everything is so simple, but it just works so perfectly, and it creates the sum is greater than the parts. Is that it? No, the sum is greater than the whatever that expression is. Okay, this is the last song. So we had the build up to the modern age, Soma, barely legal, reaching the peak in Someday, Alone Together, Last Night, hard to explain. Starts coming down. I'm not even talking about quality. I'm just talking about like it just feels like this peak, this denouement, and then kind of the come down at the end here. And this is the very last, but maybe it kind of ratchets it up a little bit to end with some energy. Take it or leave it. Prototypical stroke song here. Dun, 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 dun.
Leave me alone. I'm in control. I'm in control. And girls are too much. And boys are too tough. Enough is enough. We're on the minds of other men. I know she was.
Such great melodies.
I said just take it or leave it. And take it or leave it. And take it or leave it. And take it or leave it. Or just take it or leave it. And take it or leave it. Oh, take it. Oh, that's right. Oh, he's gonna let you down. He's gonna let you down. He's gonna let you down. They're gonna break your back for a chance. They're gonna steal your friends if he can. He's gonna win someday.
So again, I just consider this like the apotheosis of a stroke song off their first couple albums. And again, I want you to pay attention to the guitars because I know I keep drilling this point home, but imagine someone said, oh, hey, you play guitar. We're all sitting around. We're having fun. here's a guitar. Why don't you play Take It or Leave It by The Strokes? What would you play? Would you just be going, or would you go, like, what would you play? And that's what's so cool. And, you know, believe me, I know it sounds like a cliche now, but when this came out, that just wasn't a normal thing. Well, I mean, this album was pretty popular, but the Strokes never became like super, super popular. They were very popular amongst indie alternative music and stuff. But I don't know. It's just interesting to me. Like, because if you think of almost any other song, you could pick up a guitar, or any other band, you could pick up a guitar and you could play chords and play the song. And that is that sort of post-punk, maybe Joy Division-y kind of sound that, yeah, it's hard to replicate by yourself with a guitar.
I love the track. Now I can't go back. I'm not like that. Boys act too much. Girls act too tough. Enough is enough. We're on the minds of other girls. I know he was. I said just take it or leave it and take it.
Great vocals as well. Great screaming.
Or leave it and take it. Or leave it. Don't just take it. Or leave it and take it. Or leave it. Don't take it.
Another sort of solo. Really good solo. Big finish. That was Take It or Leave It off of Is This It by The Strokes. I love this album. One of my favorite albums of all time. I think it's one of the best debut albums of all time. Now, The Strokes, obviously, they broadened their horizons beyond this sound. They've got quite a few albums out now, and they have evolved for sure. This is probably my favorite Strokes era, though, because when this came out, it was just such a breath of fresh air. It really revitalized just modern guitar-driven music. I love how trebly and angular and spiky and compressed this is. And I don't want that all the time from all music, but this just perfectly, it just hits the spot for me. Like I said, it was though it was, you know, put together in a lab to appeal to me, especially at that time and what my tastes were at the time. The Strokes, Is This It? One of the best albums ever and one of my favorite albums ever. Be sure to purchase this album if you don't own it. And you can't go wrong with the entire Strokes discography. I think Julian Casablancas is one of the best people in the world at writing melody. He writes the catchiest melodies ever. Even on some of his super experimental kind of side projects, The Voids or just Julian Casablancas, where it gets a lot more weird, the melodies are still just so catchy. There's always one vocal line or one melodic line where you're just like, I can't stop humming that or singing along with that. Just so fantastic. Love The Strokes. Thank you so much for watching this listening party of The Strokes. Is This It? We may do more in the future, but until then, until next time, until we meet again, I'm your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.